There is nothing more painful than a story that ends without an explanation, a goodbye without a reason, a heart that disappears without telling you why it stopped loving you. People think heartbreak hurts, but the truth is, confusion hurts more. Because when you don't get closure, your mind becomes the prison. You replay every conversation, every moment, every sign you missed, every version of yourself you were. You ask questions that never get answered. Was it my fault? Was I not enough? Did they ever care? How could they move on so fast? Why did they leave like I never mattered? And the silence. The silence becomes the sharpest knife. But here's the truth no one tells you. Closure is not something they give you. Closure is something you give yourself. Because the person who hurt you, the person who abandoned you, the person who disappeared without a word, they are not capable of giving you the understanding you're seeking. If they had the emotional maturity to give you closure, they would have had the maturity to communicate, to stay, to try, to care. But they didn't, and that tells you everything. Stoics taught that suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from the story we tell ourselves about what happened. And the story you're telling yourself right now is that something is wrong with you. That if you were better, prettier, stronger, funnier, more perfect, they would have stayed. But here is the truth you must swallow. They didn't leave because of your worth. They left because of their capacity. There are people who cannot handle love, people who cannot face their own emotions, people who run from intimacy, people who disappear because staying would force them to confront parts of themselves they're not ready to face. People who leave without closure are people who don't even have closure with themselves. You're trying to get answers from someone who doesn't have answers inside their own mind. And yet, you continue waiting. Not for them, but for the version of them you believed in. That version is gone, and maybe it never existed in the way you imagined. But here's where healing truly begins. You stop seeking closure from the person who broke you, and you start seeking closure from the person who allowed you to stay too long. Yourself. Healing begins when you tell yourself the truth. I deserved better communication. I deserved honesty. I deserved effort. I deserved someone who cared enough to stay. I deserved someone emotionally mature enough to talk to me. I deserved someone who valued me, not someone who used me. Closure is not a conversation. Closure is a decision. A decision to stop rewriting the story. A decision to stop waiting for a message that won't come. A decision to stop giving power to someone who couldn't handle your heart. A decision to accept that the story ended, even if you didn't get the final chapter. The hardest part isn't letting them go. The hardest part is letting go of the questions. And that is where the real healing begins. The truth is, your mind is begging for closure because it wants certainty. It wants something solid to hold on to, a reason, an explanation, a clean ending. But life doesn't always give clean endings. People don't always give the truth. And love? Love sometimes ends in the most painful way possible. Quietly, without warning, without clarity, without dignity. And the lack of closure makes your mind spiral, because what the mind cannot explain, it begins to blame itself for. But you must understand something important. Your brain is creating questions because your heart is trying to make meaning out of pain. You're not weak. You're not dramatic. You're not broken. You're human. Your loyalty wasn't a mistake. Your effort wasn't a flaw. Your love wasn't a failure. The mistake was expecting someone who ran from themselves to stay long enough to understand what they had. People who disappear without closure aren't trying to hurt you. They're trying to escape themselves. They avoid confrontation because they can't confront their own truth. They avoid communication because honesty exposes their guilt. They avoid you because you deserve answers they are not mature enough to give. And here's the paradox. The closure you think you need from them is actually the closure you need from yourself. Because even if they sat in front of you today, even if they explained every detail, even if they apologized, even if they cried, would it truly remove the pain? Would it truly erase the memories? Would it truly bring the relationship back to life? No. Because you're not hurting from what happened. You're hurting from what you thought it was. You're grieving the future you imagined. You're grieving the promises you believed. You're grieving the version of them that existed only in the moments they showed their best self. You're not missing who they were. You're missing who they pretended to be. And that realization, that is the beginning of self-liberation. Because once you understand this, you stop chasing closure from people who never truly showed up. You stop giving your mental space to someone who walked away from yours. You stop seeking truth from someone who wasn't even honest with themselves. Healing begins when you finally admit, I will never get the ending I deserved, and I can still move on. You move on not because you received answers, but because you stopped allowing the lack of answers to control your life. And you begin to feel a shift, a quiet inner shift, when you understand closure isn't something you get, it's something you create. You create it by accepting what they couldn't say. You create it by releasing the version of them you invented. You create it by choosing your sanity over your curiosity. You create it by deciding you will no longer wait for someone who already left the table. And when that shift happens, when you finally choose your peace over your questions, that's when the healing begins for real. But there's still one more truth you need to hear. The one truth that will set you free from the obsession, the replaying, the overthinking, the feeling of not being enough. And that truth comes next. There is one truth you've avoided. One truth that hurts at first but frees you in the end. Closure is not something they took from you. It's something you kept waiting for long after they stopped deserving that role in your life. You kept searching for answers in someone who didn't even understand themselves. You kept trying to find peace in the same place that broke you. You kept trying to heal through the person who caused the wound. But the universe, life, God, whatever you believe in, removed them not to punish you, but to protect you. Because some people can sit in front of you, look you dead in the eyes, and still lie. Some people can explain everything, and the explanation still wouldn't make sense because it came from someone who never knew how to value your heart in the first place. And that's when the deepest truth reveals itself. You don't need closure from them. You need closure from the version of yourself that kept holding on. Closure is not a conversation. Closure is not an apology. Closure is not answers to the questions that keep you up at night. Closure is the moment you decide, I choose peace now. I choose myself now. I choose to move forward even without understanding everything. I choose to stop waiting for someone who stopped choosing me. And that choice, that single, quiet choice, is what transforms a broken heart into a disciplined mind. Because the Stoics believed, what hurts you blesses you. What leaves you teaches you. What ends for you frees you. And maybe, just maybe, you weren't meant to receive closure from them. You were meant to receive clarity from the pain they caused. Clarity about your worth. Clarity about your boundaries. Clarity about what kind of love you will never accept again. Clarity about the man you're becoming. Because the truth is, you don't heal when you get the answers. You heal when the questions lose their power over your life. So here you are, not the person searching for explanations, but the person finally ready to rebuild. Not the person waiting for closure, but the person choosing it. Not the person who's broken, but the person rising. And now you must ask yourself the question that truly sets you free. What am I finally ready to let go of, even if I never get the closure I wanted? Sit with that. And if this message spoke to you, if it helped you understand your pain, if it made you feel less alone, like the video so this message reaches more people. Subscribe to Stoic Mirror for more healing, more truth, and more strength. Your story isn't ending. Your healing is beginning.